Murder in the first degree, premeditated homicide, is the most serious charge tried in our criminal courts. You have heard a long and complex case, ladies and gentlemen, and it is now your duty to sit down and try and separate the facts from the fancy. One man is dead. The life of another is at stake. If there is a reasonable doubt in your minds as to the guilt of the accused, then you must declare him not guilty. If, however, there is no reasonable doubt, then he must be found guilty. Whichever way you decide, the verdict must be unanimous. I urge you to deliberate honestly and thoughtfully. You are faced with a grave responsibility. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
The jury will retire.
He doesn't stand a chance.
Chewing gum. Gum? Gum?
Thank you, but no.
You know something.
I know a lot of things. I'm in advertising.
You know, it's hot.
I wouldn't have known anything before you said anything, would you?
I suppose not. I'd kind of forgotten.
All I've done all day is sweat.
I bet you aren't sweating like that kid who's tried.
You'd think that at least air conditioned in this place. I almost dropped dead in court.
My taxes are high enough.
This should go fast anyway.
It is hot.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, everybody's here. If there's anything you want, I'll be right outside. Just knock.
She locked that door.
Yes, she did.
Well, who do they think we are? Crooks?
They locked us up for a little while.
And they locked that kid up forever. That's all right by me.
I didn't know they did that.
Well, sure they locked the door. What did you expect?
I don't know. It just never occurred to me.
Shall we all agree that it's hot and humid and our tempers are short?
It's been a pretty hard week.
I feel just fine.
I wonder what's been going down at the office. You know how it is in advertising. In 6 days, my job could be gone, the whole company too. They aren't gonna like this.
Well, figure. This is our duty.
I didn't object to doing my duty. I just mentioned I might not have a job by the time I get back.
Ask her to hire me. She's rich. Look at the suit.
Is it custom tailored? Yes, it is. I have an uncle who's a tailor. How does he do? Not too well. You know, a friend of his, that's a friend of my uncle, the tailor. He wanted to be on this jury in my place.
Why didn't you let him? I would have done anything to miss this.
And get caught or something? Do you know what kind of fine you pay for anything like that? Anyways, this friend of my uncle's was on a jury once, about 10 years ago, a case just about like this one.
So what happened?
They let him off. Reasonable doubt. Do you know what? About 8 years later, they found out he'd actually done it anyways. A guilty man. A murderer was turned loose in the streets.
Did they get him?
They couldn't.
Why not?
A man can't be held in double jeopardy. Unless a hung jury can't try a man twice for the same crime.
That isn't going to happen here.
6 days. They should have finished it in 2. Talk, talk, talk. Have you ever heard so much talk about nothing?
Well, I guess they're entitled.
Everybody gets a fair trial. That's the system. I suppose you can't say anything against it.
How did you like that business about the knife? Did you ever hear a phonier story?
Well, look, you've got to expect that. You know what you're dealing with.
He bought a Swiss knife that night.
And then he lost it.
A hole in his pocket.
A hole in his father.
An awful way to kill your father, a knife in the chest.
Well, that's just how they are.
Bless you.
What's the matter? You got a cold?
A Lulu, these hot weather colds can kill you.
I had one last summer. I was on vacation too.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's take seats.
Right. This better go fast. I've got tickets to see Hamilton for tonight. I must be the only guy in the world who hasn't seen it yet. All right, Your Honor. Start the show.
How about sitting down? Lady at the window, how about sitting down?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Tough to figure, isn't it? Kid kills his father, bing, just like that. Well, it's the element. They let the kids run wild these days. Maybe it serves them right.
There are better proofs than some emotion you may have. Perhaps a dislike for something.
We all agreed that it was hot.
And that our tempers would get short.
But that's if we disagree. But this is open and shut. Let's get it done.
All right. Now, you ladies and gentlemen can handle this any way you want. I mean, I'm not going to make any rules or anything. If you want to discuss it first and then vote, that's one way. Or we can vote right now and see where we stand.
Let's vote now. Who knows? Maybe we can all go home.
Yes, let's see who's where.
Right, let's vote now.
All right, let us vote.
Anyone doesn't want to vote?
That was easy.
All right. All those voting guilty, raise your hands. 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, it's 11 for guilty. Not guilty.
Hey, you're in left field.
11 to 1. 11 guilty, 1 not guilty. Now we know where we stand.
Do you really believe he's not guilty?
I don't know.
After 6 days, she doesn't know.
I can learn calculus in 6 days. This is ABC.
I don't believe that it is as simple as ABC.
I've never seen a guiltier man in my life.
What does a guilty man look like? He is not guilty until we say he is guilty. Are we to vote on his face?
You sat right in court and heard the same things I did. The man's a dangerous killer. You could see it.
Where do you look to see if a man is a killer?
Oh. Well,
I'd like to know. Tell me what the facial characteristics of a killer are. Maybe you know something I don't know.
Look, what is there about the case to make you think the boy is innocent?
He's 19 years old.
that's old enough. He knifed his own father, 4 inches into the chest. An innocent little 19-year-old kid.
I agree with that the boy is guilty, but I think we should try to avoid emotionally colored arguments.
All right, they proved it a dozen different ways. Do you want me to list them?
No.
Well, do you believe that stupid story he told?
Now.
Do you believe the kid's story?
I don't know whether I believe it or not. Maybe I don't.
So what'd you vote not guilty for?
There were 11 votes for guilty. It's not so easy for me to raise my hand and send a boy off to die without talking about it first.
Who says it's easy for me?
Or me.
No one.
He's still just as guilty, whether it's an easy vote or a hard one.
Is there something wrong because I voted fast?
Not necessarily.
I think the guy's guilty. You couldn't change my mind if you talked for 100 years.
I don't want to change your mind.
Just what are you trying to do?
I want to talk for a while. Look, this kid's been kicked around all his life. Living in a slum, his mother dead since he was 9. That's not a very good head start. He's a tough, angry kid. You know why some kids get that way? Because we knock him over the head once a day, every day. I just think maybe we owe him a few words. That's all.
Look, it's hard, sure. It was hard for me. Everything I've got, I fought for. I worked my way through college. And that was a long time ago, and perhaps you do forget. I fought, yes, but I never killed.
I know what it's like. I never killed nobody.
I've been kicked around too. Wait until you work in the ad agency and the big boy that buys advertising walks in. We all know.
In my country, in Europe, kicking was a science. But let's try to find something better than that.
I don't mind telling you this, miss. We don't owe the kid a thing. He got a fair trial, didn't he? You know what that trial cost? He's so lucky that he got it. Look, we're all grown-ups here. You're not going to tell us that we're supposed to believe him knowing what he is. I've lived among them all my life. You can't believe a word they say, and you know that.
I don't know that. What a terrible thing for a man to believe. Since when is dishonesty a group characteristic? You have no monopoly on the truth.
All right, it's not Sunday. We don't need a sermon.
What this man says is very dangerous.
I don't see why we can't behave like adults here.
Right.
All right, if you insist.
Thank you.
Sure.
If we're going to discuss this case, why, let's discuss the facts.
That's a good point. We have a job to do. Let's do it.
If you ladies and gentlemen don't mind, I'm going to close the window. It was blowing on my neck,
You don't mind. I'd like to keep the window open.
but it was blowing on me.
Don't you want a little air? It's summer. It's hot.
It was very uncomfortable.
There are 12 of us in the room. It's the only window. You don't mind.
I have rights too.
So do the rest of us.
Couldn't you trade chairs with some of the other end of the table?
All right, we will keep the window open if someone will trade.
Take my seat.
Thank you.
Shall we get back to the case?
Yeah, let's.
I have an idea here. It's just me thinking aloud now, but it seems to me that it's up to us to convince this lady that we're right, she's wrong. Maybe if we each go around and talk a minute or two, try it on for a size.
Sounds fair enough.
Very fair.
Supposing we go once around the table.
Okay, let's start it off.
We'll start with you.
I just thought the boy was guilty. I thought it was obvious.
In what way was it obvious?
I mean that no one really proved otherwise.
Nobody has to prove otherwise. It's innocent until proven guilty. The burden of proof is on the prosecution. The defendant doesn't have to open his mouth. That's in the Constitution, the Fifth Amendment. You've heard of it?
Everyone has.
Well, sure, I've heard of it. What I meant to say was, I just think the boy is guilty.
No reasons, just guilty. There's a life at stake here.
Okay, let's get to the facts. Number 1, let's take the old man who lived on the 2nd story right underneath the room where the murder took place. At 10 minutes after 12 on the night of the killing, he heard loud noises in the upstairs apartment. He said it sounded like a fight. Then he heard the kid say to his father, "I'm going to kill you." A second later, he heard a body falling, and he ran to the door of his apartment, looked out, and saw the kid running downstairs and out of the house. Then he called the police. They found the father with a knife in his chest.
And the coroner fixed the time of death at around midnight.
Right. Now, what else do you want?
It doesn't seem to fit.
The boy's entire story is ridiculous. He claimed he went to the movies. That's a little ridiculous, isn't it? He couldn't even remember what picture he saw.
That's right. Did you hear that? You're absolutely right.
He didn't have a ticket stub.
Who keeps a ticket stub at the movies?
That's true enough.
I suppose, but the cashier didn't remember him.
And the ticket taker didn't either.
Now, what about the woman across the street? If her testimony don't prove it, then nothing does.
That's right. She saw it, didn't she?
Let's go in order.
Now, just a minute. Here's a woman who's lying in bed and can't sleep. It's hot, you know.
Bless you.
Anyway, she wakes up and looks out the window to see the kid stick a knife into his father.
How can she really be sure it was a kid when she saw it through the windows of a passing elevated train?
She's known the kid all his life. His window is right opposite hers, and she swore she saw him do it.
I heard her swear to it.
Okay. And they proved in court that you can look out the window through the windows of a passing elevated train and see what's happening on the other side. They proved it.
Weren't you telling us just a minute or two ago that you can't trust them? That you can't believe them?
So?
Well, let me ask you something. How can you believe her? She's one of them too, isn't she?
You're a pretty smart fella, aren't you?
Now, take it easy.
Come on, sit down. What are you letting her get you all upset for? Relax.
Everyone, they did take us to the women's room, and we saw us through a passing L train, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Weren't you able to see what happened on the other side?
I didn't see as well as they told me I would see, but I did see what happened on the other side.
You see? Do you see?
Let's calm down now. It's your turn.
I'll pass it.
That's your privilege. How about you?
I don't know. I started to be convinced, you know, with the testimony from those people across the hall. Didn't they say something about a fight between the boy and father around 7 o'clock that night? I mean, I can be wrong.
I believe it was 8 o'clock, not 7.
That's right, 8 o'clock.
They heard the father hit the boy twice, and then they saw the boy walk angrily out of the house.
Right.
What does that prove?
Well, it doesn't prove anything. I never said it proved anything. It's just part of the picture.
Anything else?
No.
I don't know. Most of it has been already said. We can talk all day about this thing, but I think we're wasting our time.
I don't.
Nor do I. Go on.
Look at the boy's record. He stole a car. He's been arrested for mugging. I think they said he stabbed somebody in the arm.
They did.
He was picked up for knife fighting. At 15, he was sent to reform school.
And they sent him to reform school for stabbing somebody.
This is a very fine boy.
Ever since he was 5 years old, his father beat him up regularly. He used his fists.
So would I, on a kid like that.
You're right. It's the kids. The way they are, you know? They don't listen. I've got a kid. When he was 8, he ran away from a fight. I saw him. I was so ashamed. I told him right out, I'm going to make a man out of you, or I'm going to bust you into little pieces trying. When he was 15, he hit me in the face. He's big, you know? I haven't seen him for 3 years. Rotten kid! I hate tough kids. You work your heart out. All right, let's get going here.
We're missing the point here. This boy, let's say he's a byproduct of a filthy neighborhood and a broken home. We can't help that. We're not here to go into the reasons why the slums are breeding grounds for criminals. They are. I know that, and so do you. The people who come out of some backgrounds are potential menaces to society.
You said it there. I don't want any part of them, believe me.
I lived in a snow all my life.
Now, just a minute.
I used to play in a backyard filled with garbage. Maybe it still smells on me.
Let's be reasonable. There's nothing personal.
It was personal.
Come on. He didn't mean you, feller. Let's not be so sensitive.
Who did he mean?
I can understand the sensitivity.
Let's stop the bickering.
We're wasting time.
It's your turn.
All right, I had a peculiar feeling about this trial. Somehow I felt the defense counsel never really conducted a thorough cross-examination. Too many questions were left unasked.
Well, it doesn't change my opinion about the Gilda kid. Still, I agree the defense counsel was bad.
So?
This is a point.
What about the facts?
So many questions were never answered.
How about the questions that were answered? For instance, let's talk about that cute little switch knife. You know, the one that fine, upright kid admitted buying.
All right, let's talk about it. Let's get it in here and look at it. I'd like to see it again, Miss Foreman.
We all know what it looks like. I don't see why we have to look at it again.
The one has a right to look at exhibits and evidence.
Okay with me.
This knife is a pretty strong piece of evidence, don't you agree?
I do.
So let's get the order of events right as it relates to the switch knife.
The boy admits to going out of his house at 8 o'clock after being slapped by his father.
Or punched.
Or punched. The boy went to his neighborhood store and bought the switch knife, where the store clerk was arrested the following day when he admitted to selling it to the boy.
I think we can all agree that it's an unusual knife. It's pretty hard to forget something like that.
The storekeeper identified the knife as one of the only ones of its kind he had in stock. Why did the boy get it?
As a present for a friend of his, he said.
Am I right so far?
Right?
You bet she's right. Now listen to this woman. She knows what she's talking about.
The boy claims that on the way home, the knife must have fallen through a hole in his coat pocket, that he never saw it again. Now there's the story, ladies and gentlemen. You want to know what actually happened? The boy took the knife home, and on the way, the boy took the knife home and stabbed his father with it, and even remembered to wipe off the fingerprints. Everyone connected with this case identified this knife. Now you're trying to tell me that someone picked it off of the street, went up to the boy's house, and stabbed his father with it just to be amusing?
No, I'm saying that it's possible that the boy lost a knife and that someone else stabbed the father with a similar knife. It's possible.
Take a look at that knife. It's a very strange knife. I've never seen one like it before in my life. I neither had the storekeeper who sold it to him. Nor is she trying to make us accept a pretty incredible coincidence.
I'm not trying to make anyone accept anything. I'm just saying that it's possible.
I'm saying it's not possible. What are you trying to do?
Yeah, what is this? Who do you think you are?
Look at it. It's the same knife.
How can she get it? Where did she get that?
Quiet!
Get that.
Let's be quiet.
Where did you get it?
I got it in a little junk shop around the corner from the boy's house. It cost $2.
Now you listen to me.
Oh, I'm listening.
You pulled a real smart trick here, but you proved absolutely zero. Maybe there are 10 knives like that. So what?
Maybe there are.
The boy lied and you know it.
And maybe he didn't lie. Maybe he did lose the knife, and maybe he did go to the movies. Maybe the reason the cashier didn't recognize him was because he snuck into the movies, and maybe he was too ashamed to say so. Is there anyone here who didn't sneak into the movies once or twice when they were younger?
I didn't.
Really? Not even once?
We didn't have movies.
Oh.
Maybe the boy did go to the movies, and maybe he didn't. And he may have lied. Do you think he lied?
Well, that's a stupid question. Sure, he lied.
Do you?
Why are you asking me that? You know my answer. He lied.
Do you think he lied?
I don't know.
Now wait a second. What are you, the guy's lawyer? There are 11 of us who think he's guilty. You're alone. What do you think you're going to accomplish here? If you want to be stubborn and hang this jury, he'll be tried again, found guilty, as sure as he's born.
You're probably right.
So what are you going to do about it? We could be here all night.
It's only one night. A man may die.
Oh, now, come on.
Well, yes, that's true.
I think we should get on with it now.
Right. Let's get going here.
How do you like her?
Well, what do you say? You're the one holding up the show.
It's obvious you don't think the boy is guilty.
I have a doubt in my mind.
But you haven't really presented us anything that makes it possible for us to understand your doubt. There's the old man downstairs. He heard it. He heard a kid shriek it out.
The woman across the L tracks. She saw it.
You don't know where he really got the knife. And where he really was. At the movies?
Earlier that night, the boy and his father did have a fight.
Look, he's been a violent kid all the way. And while that doesn't really prove anything.
Still, you know.
I've got a proposition to make. I want to call for a vote. I want you 11 to vote by secret ballot. I'll abstain. There are still 11 votes for guilty. I won't stand alone. We'll take in a guilty verdict right now.
Okay, let's do it.
Sounds fair. Is everyone agreed?
I certainly am.
Let's roll it.
Perhaps this is best.
Guilty. 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 Guilty.
That's 6.
Please. Guilty. 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 Not guilty. Guilty.
Well, how do you like that?
Who was it? I think we have the right to know.
All right. Who did it? What idiot changed their vote?
Is that the way to talk about a man's life?
Whose life are you talking about? The life of the dead man? Or the life of a murderer?
I want to know. Who?
Excuse me, this was a secret ballot.
No one looked while we did it. But now, I want to know.
A secret ballot. We agreed on that point, no? If the juror wanted to remain a secret.
What do you mean? There are no secrets in here. I know who it was. What's the matter with you? You come in here and vote guilty, and now this slick preacher starts to tear your heart out with stories about a poor little kid who just couldn't help becoming a murderer. So you change your vote. Now, if that isn't the most sickening...
Now hold it.
I agree if the boy is guilty, but let's be fair.
Hold it? Be fair? That's just what I'm saying. We're trying to put a guilty man into the chair where he belongs. And all of a sudden, we're paying attention to fairy tales?
Now, just a minute.
Now you listen
Let's
to me.
try to keep this organized, ladies and gentlemen.
It isn't organized, but let's try to be civilized.
Please, I have something I wish to say here. I have always believed that a man was entitled to have unpopular opinions in this country. This is why I came here. I wanted to have the right to disagree.
Do you disagree with us?
Usually, I would. In this one case, I agree with you. But the point that I wish to make is that in my own country, I am
now
ashamed
what do
to
we
say...
have to listen to? The whole history of your country?
It's always wise to bear in mind what happens in other countries, when people aren't allowed to disagree. But we are, so let's stick to the subject.
Yeah, let's stick to the subject. I'd like to ask you, what made you change your vote?
I want to know too. You haven't told us yet.
Why do you think I changed my vote?
Because I do. Now get on with it.
There's nothing for her to tell you. She didn't change her vote. I did.
I was going to tell you, but you're so sure of yourselves.
Sorry. Okay, now,
Maybe you'd like to know why.
let me tell you why that kid's
The
up.
woman wants to talk.
Thank you. This lady chose not to stand against us. That's her right. It takes a great deal of courage to stand alone, even if you believe in something very strongly. She left the verdict up to us, and she gambled for support, so I gave it to her. I want to hear more. The vote is 10-2.
That's fine. If the speech is over, let's go on.
If there was anything in that kid's favor, I'd vote not guilty.
I don't see what it is.
Neither do I. They're clutching at straws.
As guilty as they get, that's kid, I suppose.
It's that one juror that's holding out. But she'll come around. She's got to. And fundamentally, she's a very reasonable person.
No, I guess so.
They hadn't really come up with one real fact yet to back up a not guilty verdict.
It's hard, you know.
Yes, it is. And what does guilty beyond a reasonable doubt really mean?
What's a reasonable doubt?
Exactly. When a life is at stake, what is a reasonable doubt? Gotta have law and order. Got to draw the line somewhere. If you don't, everyone will start knifing people.
Not much doubt here.
2 of us think so. I wonder why. I really wonder why.
Well, you do hear stories about innocent men who have gone to jail or death sometimes, and years later things turn out.
And on the other hand, some people get turned loose and they go and do it again. They get out on some technicality and they go and do it again.
Look, buddy, now that we've kind of cooled off, why, I was a little excited a minute ago. Well, you know how it is. Nothing personal.
Okay.
Look, supposing you answer me this. If the kid didn't kill him, who did?
As far as I know, we're supposed to decide whether or not the boy on trial is guilty. We're not concerned with anyone else's motives here.
I suppose. But who else had motive?
The kid's father was along in years. Maybe an old grudge?
Remember, it is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. This is an important thing to remember.
Everyone's a lawyer. Supposing you explain to us what your reasonable doubts are.
This is not easy. So far, it is only a feeling. A feeling. Perhaps you don't understand.
No, I don't.
What are we gonna do? Spend the night talking about your feelings? What about the facts?
You said a mouthful. Look, the old man heard the kid yell, "I'm going to kill you." A second later, he heard the father's body falling, and he saw the kid running out of the house 15 seconds after that.
Where's the reasonable doubt in that?
That's right. And let's not forget the old woman across the street. She looked into the window and saw the boy stab his father. She saw it.
Now, if that's not enough for you.
It's not enough for me.
What is enough for you? I'd like to know.
How do you like her? It's like talking to a dead phone.
The woman saw the killing through the windows of an elevated train. The train had 5 cars, and she saw it through the windows of the last 2 cars. She remembers the most insignificant details.
Well, what have you got to say about that?
I don't know. It doesn't sound right to me.
Well, supposing you think about it, lend me your pencil. Let's play some tic-tac-toe. We might as well pass the time.
This isn't a game.
Now wait a minute!
This is a man's life.
Who do you think you are?
All right, take it easy.
I've got a good mind to walk around this table and belt her one.
Now please, I don't want any fights here.
Did you see her? The nerve. The absolute nerve!
All right, forget it. It don't mean anything.
Yeah, how about sitting down?
This isn't a game. Who does she think she is?
Weren't we talking about elevated trains?
Yes, we were.
So?
All right. How long does it take an elevated train going at top speed to pass a given point?
What does that got to do with anything?
How long would it take? Guess.
I wouldn't have the slightest idea.
Neither would I.
I don't think they mentioned it.
What do you think?
I'd say about 10, 15 seconds, maybe.
I'd say that was a fair guess. Anyone else?
I would think about 10 seconds perhaps.
No, about 10 seconds, yes.
All right, agree, 10 seconds. What are you getting at?
This. An L train takes 10 seconds to pass a given point. That given point is the window of the room in which the killing took place. You can almost reach out of the window of that room and touch the L, right?
That's right, I tried it.
So?
All right, now let me ask you this. How many of you have ever lived next to the L tracks?
I live close to them.
They make a lot of noise, don't they? I've lived right by them. When your window is open and the train goes by, the noise is almost unbearable. You can't hear yourself think.
Okay, you can't hear yourself think. Get to the point.
The old man who lived downstairs heard the boy say,
He didn't say it. He screamed it.
the old man who lived downstairs heard the boy scream, "I'm going to kill you." And then 1 second later, he heard the body fall. 1 second. That's the testimony, right?
Right.
The woman across the L tracks looked through the windows of the last 2 cars and saw the body fall, right?
Right.
So? The last 2 cars. The last 2 cars.
What are you giving us here?
An L train takes 10 seconds to pass a given point, or 2 seconds per car. That given point is the window of the room in which the killing took place. The old man would have had to hear the boy scream, "I'm going to kill you," while the front of the L was roaring past his nose. It's not possible he could have heard it.
What do you mean? Sure, he could have heard it.
With an L train going by?
He said the boy yelled it out.
An L train makes a lot of noise.
It's enough for me.
It's enough for me, too.
I don't think he could have heard it.
Maybe the old man didn't hear it. I mean, with the Illinois.
What are you people talking about? Are you calling the old man a liar?
Something doesn't fit.
I mean, it stands to reason.
You're crazy. Why would he lie? What's he got to gain?
Attention? Maybe.
You keep coming up with these bright sayings. Why don't you send one into a newspaper? They pay $2.
What has that got to do with a man's life? Why might the old man have lied? You have a right to be heard.
It's just that I looked at the old man for a very long time. The seam of his jacket was split underneath his arm. Did you notice that? This was a very old man with a torn jacket, and he carried 2 canes. I think I know him better than anyone else here. This is a quiet, frightened, insignificant man who has been nothing all his life. A man who has never had any recognition or his name in the newspapers after 75 years. This is a very sad thing. A man like this needs to be recognized, listened to, and quoted just once. This is very important.
And you're trying to tell us he lied about something like that just so he can be important?
Well, he wouldn't really lie. He would make himself believe he heard those words and recognize the boy's face.
Well, that's the most fantastic story I've ever heard. How can you make up a thing like that?
I'm not making it up.
You must be making it up. People don't lie about things like that.
He made himself believe he told the truth.
What do you know about it?
I speak from experience.
What?
I am the same person.
I think we all understand now. Thank you.
If you want to admit that you're a liar, it's all right by me.
Now that is too much.
She's a liar. She just told us so.
She did not say she was a liar. She was explaining.
Didn't you just admit that you're a liar?
Please. She's explaining the circumstances so that we could understand why the old man might have lied. There's a difference.
A liar is a liar. That's all there is to it.
Please, have some compassion.
People, please, we have our job and duty here.
I think they covered it.
I hope we have.
All right, is there anything else?
Cough drop?
No, thank you.
Anybody want a cough
Come on,
drop?
let's get on with it.
I'll take one. Thank you. Now, there's something else I'd like to point out here. I think we proved the old man couldn't have heard the boy say, "I'm going to kill you."
Well, I disagree.
Let's hear it through anyway.
But supposing the old man really did hear the boy say, "I'm going to kill you," this phrase, how many times has each of you used it? Probably hundreds. If you do that once more, Junior, I'm going to murder you. Come on, Rocky, kill him. We say it every day. That doesn't mean we're really going to kill someone.
Don't the circumstances alter that somewhat?
The old man was murdered.
One thing more. The phrase was, "I'm going to kill you." And the boy yelled it out at the top of his lungs.
That's the way I understand it.
And don't try and tell me he didn't mean it. Anybody says a thing like that, the way he did, they mean it.
And how they mean it.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you really think the boy would shout out a thing like that so the whole neighborhood would hear so? I don't think so. He's much too bright for that.
Right! He's a common, ignorant slob. He don't even speak good English.
He doesn't even speak good English.
The boy is clever enough.
I'd like to change my vote to not guilty.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
The vote is 9-3 in favor of guilty.
I'd like to know why you changed your vote.
I believe there's doubt.
Where?
There's
Where is the doubt?
There's the knife.
Oh, fine. She talked you into believing a fairy tale.
Go on, give us reasons.
Well, there's the old man. Maybe he didn't lie, but just maybe he did. Maybe
Well-
the old man doesn't like the kid.
Well, if that isn't the end,
I believe there is a reasonable doubt.
what are you basing it on? Stories that this lady made up? She had to write for Amazing Detective Monthly. She'd make a fortune. Listen, the kid had a lawyer, didn't he? Why didn't the lawyer bring up all these points?
Lawyers can't think of everything.
Oh, brother, you sit here and pull stories out of thin air. You really expect me to believe that the old man didn't get out of bed, run down the hall, and see the kid beat it downstairs 15 seconds after the killing?
That's the testimony, I believe.
And he swore to this. Yes, he swore to this. Just so he can be important?
Did they say he ran to the door?
Ran, walked, what's the difference? He got there.
I don't know what they said, but I don't see how he could have run.
They said he went to the door. I remember it now. He went from his bedroom to the front door. That's enough, isn't it?
Where was his bedroom again?
Down the hall somewhere.
Down the hall? Are we to send a man off to die because it's down the hall somewhere?
I thought you remembered everything. Don't you remember that?
No, I don't.
I don't remember it either.
Miss Foreman, I'd like to take a look at the diagram of the apartment.
Why don't you just have them run the trial over again, just so you can get everything straight?
The bedroom is down the hall somewhere. Do you know? Do you know exactly where it is? Please, a man's life is at stake. Do you know?
Well,
Miss Foreman?
I heard you.
All right. What's this one for? How come you're the only one in the room who wants to look at exhibits all the time?
I want to see this one too.
So do I.
I want to stop wasting time.
Are we going to start wading through all that nonsense about where the body was found?
We're not. We're going to find out how a man who's had 2 strokes in the past 3 years and who walks with a pair of canes could get to his door in 15 seconds.
He said 20 seconds.
He said 15.
How does he know how long 15 seconds is? You can't judge that kind of thing.
It was 15. He was very positive about it.
He's an old man. You saw that. Half the time he was confused. How could he be positive about anything? Well, you know.
No, I don't know. Maybe you know.
Is this what you wanted?
That's right, thank you.
Sure, that's my job.
You wanted this?
Yes, please.
do me a favor. Wake me up when this is over.
I looked at that diagram for 2 hours. Enough is enough.
Some of us are interested. Go ahead.
All right, this is the apartment in which the killing took place. The old man's apartment is directly beneath it and exactly the same. Here are the L tracks. The bedroom, another bedroom, the living room, the bathroom, the kitchen, and this is the hall. Here's the front door, and these are the steps. Now, the old man was in bed in this room. He says he got up, went out into the hall, down the hall to the front door, and opened it and looked out just in time to see the boy racing down the stairs. Am I right so far?
That's the story.
That's what happened.
15 seconds after he heard the body fall.
Correct.
His bed was at the window. It's 12 feet from his bed to the bedroom door. The length of the hall is 43 feet, 6 inches. He would have had to get up out of bed, grab his canes, walk 12 feet, open the bedroom door, walk another 43 feet, and open the front door, all in 15 seconds. Do you think this is possible?
You know it's possible.
I don't see why not.
He would have been in a hurry. He did hear the scream.
But he can only move very slowly. They had to help him into the witness chair.
You make it sound like a long walk. It's not.
For an old man who uses canes, it's a long walk.
What are you doing?
I want to try this thing. Let's see how long it took him. I'm going to pace off 12 feet, the length of the bedroom.
You're crazy. You can't recreate a thing like that.
Perhaps if we could see it. This is a very important point.
It's a ridiculous waste of time.
Let her do it.
I can't see any harm in it. Foolish. But go ahead.
Hand me a chair, please. All right, this is the bedroom door. How far would you say it is from here to the door of this room?
I'd say 20 feet.
Just about.
20 feet is close enough. From here to the door and back is about 40 feet. That's shorter than the length of the hall the old man had to move through. Wouldn't you say that?
A few feet, maybe.
Look, this is absolutely insane. What makes you think you can do this?
We can't stop her.
Do you mind if I try it? According to you, it will only take 15 seconds. We can spare that. Who's got a watch with the second hand?
I have.
When you want me to start, stamp your foot. That'll be the body falling.
We'll tie me from there.
Let's say he keeps his canes right at his bedside, right?
Right.
Okay. I'm ready.
I am waiting for the hand to get to 60.
I'll speed it up. You walk twice as fast as that.
This is, I think, even more quickly than the old man walked in the courtroom.
No, it isn't.
If you think I should go faster, I will.
Speed it up a little.
Stop.
Right.
What's the time?
15, 20, 30, 30. About 39 seconds exactly.
That can't be!
39 seconds. 39.
Well, that's interesting.
Hey, now you know.
What do you think of that?
39 seconds.
Il Cripple swore on his oath that it was 15.
She may have been a little bit off on the speed, but 24 seconds off? Well, now you know.
Far be it for me to call anyone a liar. And even allowing for quite a difference in speed between the old man and you, still there's quite a
discrepancy.
It's my guess that the old man was trying to get to the door, heard someone racing down the stairs, and assumed that it was the boy.
I think that's possible.
Assumed? Now listen to me, you people. I've seen all kinds of dishonesty in my day, but this little display takes the cake.
What dishonesty?
Tell her! You come in here with your heart bleeding all over the floor about slum kids and injustice, and you've made up these wild stories. You've got some soft-hearted old ladies listening to you. Well, I'm not. I'm getting real sick of you. What's the matter with you people? The kid's guilty. He's got to burn. We're letting him slip through our fingers.
Our fingers? Are you his executioner?
I'm one of them.
Perhaps you'd like to pull the switch.
For this kid, you bet I'd like to pull the switch.
I'm sorry for you.
Don't start with me.
What it must feel like to want to pull the switch.
Shut up.
You're a sadist.
Shut up.
You want to see this boy die because you personally want it, not because of facts. You're a beast. You disgust me.
Shut up! Let me go! I'll kill her! I'll kill her!
You don't really mean you'll kill me, do you?
Is there anything wrong? I heard some noise.
no. There's nothing wrong. You can take that back. We're finished with it.
But what are you all looking at?
I don't see why we have to behave like children here.
Nor do I. We have a responsibility. This is the remarkable thing about democracy, that we are, what is the word? Notified. That we are notified by mail to come down to this place and decide on the guilt or innocence of a man we have not known before. We have nothing to gain or lose by a verdict. This is one of the things that makes us strong. We should not make it a personal thing.
Thank you.
Why do you thank me?
We forget. It is good to be reminded.
I'm glad that we're going to be civilized about this.
Well, we're still nowhere.
No, we're somewhere. Or getting there, maybe.
Maybe.
Who's got an idea?
I think we should take another vote. Miss Foreman?
It's all right with me. Anybody doesn't want to vote?
Let's vote.
Yes, vote.
It's all right. Let's do it.
I want an open ballot. Let's call out our votes. I want to know who stands where.
Sounds fair. Anyone object? All right, I'll call off your jury numbers. I vote guilty. 2,
Not guilty.
3,
Guilty.
4,
Guilty.
5,
Not guilty.
6,
Not guilty.
7,
Guilty.
8,
Not guilty.
9,
Not guilty.
10,
Guilty.
11,
Not guilty.
12.
Guilty.
That's 6 to 6.
I'll tell you something. The crime is being committed right in this room.
The vote is 6 to 6.
I'm ready to walk into court right now and declare a hung jury. There's no point in this going on anymore.
I'd like to know why you changed your mind, and why you changed your mind, and why you did. There are 6 people in this room who think we might be turning your murder loose in the streets. Emotion won't do. Why?
It would seem like the old man did not see the boy run downstairs. I don't think it likely that the old man heard the boy scream, "I'm going to kill you." Old men dream. And if the boy really did scream that he was going to kill, we have the authority of this man to prove that doesn't actually mean he's going to kill.
Why don't we take it to the judge and let the kid take his chances with 12 other people?
6 to 6. I don't think we'll ever agree on anything.
It's got to be unanimous. And we'll never be able to convince her.
At first I was alone. Now 5 others agree. There is a doubt.
You can't ever convince me that there's a doubt, because I know there isn't no doubt.
I tell you what, maybe we're a hung jury. It happens sometimes.
We are not going to be a hung jury.
But we are, right now, a perfect balance. Let's take it into the judge.
There is a doubt. I just don't see it.
The doubt is there, in my mind.
Maybe we should vote.
Vote? Vote on what?
Not again!
I still want to know. Vote on what?
Are we or aren't we a hung jury?
You mean that we vote yes, we are a hung jury, or no, we are not a hung jury?
That's just what I was thinking of.
We can't even agree on whether or not the window should be open.
Let's make it a majority vote.
So,
Majority wins.
if 7 or more of us vote yes, that we are a hung jury, then we take it to the judge and tell him that we are a hung jury.
Right. And if 7 or more vote no, then we aren't a hung jury. So we go on.
It doesn't seem quite right to me.
It's the only solution.
I agree. It's the only way.
Anything to end this.
All right. I vote yes, we are a hung jury. 2,
No.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5,
No.
6,
No.
7,
Yes.
8,
No.
9,
No.
10,
Yes.
11,
No.
12.
Yes.
Oh no.
It's 6 to 6.
We can't even agree on whether or not we're a hung jury.
I went along majority vote on this question, and I didn't agree with voting that way. Not really, and I still don't. So I'm changing my vote. I say no, we are not a hung jury. I believe the boy is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. There are still some things I want to find out from those people that change their minds.
Then we aren't a hung jury. So we go on.
Good, we go on.
Why did you change your mind?
She seems so sure, and she has made a number of good points. Well, he just gets mad and insults everybody.
Does the anger and the insult change the guilt of the kid? He did do it. Are you going to turn the murder loose on the streets just because you think one of the jurors gets angry when he thinks a murder is being turned loose?
That's true. There is a doubt.
I just don't see it. The track is straight in front of the window. Let's take that point. So L trains make a low rumbling noise when they move. And L trains screech when they go around curves. So old man could have heard a scream, which is high pitched, and it is a tenement, and they have thin walls.
Good. Good. That's it. That's it.
So old man downstairs might have been wrong on how long it took him to get to the door, but right about whom he saw. Please remember that there weren't any fingerprints on the knife, and it is summer, so gloves seem unlikely.
Now I want you to listen to this woman. She's got the goods.
And it might have taken the murderer a few seconds or so to get out his handkerchief and wipe the fingerprints away.
This is a point.
Why don't we just time this one to see?
Just what are we timing?
Yes, let's be exact, please.
I am saying that the old man downstairs might have been wrong in the time it took him to get to the door, but right about whom he saw running down the stairs. Now, it might have taken the murderer about 39 seconds or so to wipe away all the fingerprints, get down the hall, and then down the stairs to the point where the old man saw him, the boy that is.
This is right.
We reconstructed the old man getting out of bed and going to the door. Now let's reconstruct the actual crime.
As well as we can reconstruct it.
I think a murderer could use up to 30 to 40 seconds. Pretty easily at that point.
Let's reconstruct the killing.
Yes, let's.
Here, you do the stabbing.
No, I'll do it.
And why don't you be the one getting stabbed? You're younger than I am. And don't forget, you take 1 second to fall.
And make sure you fall and roll into your side, your right side. Fall and roll into your right side. If someone hates a person enough to kill them, don't you think it's reasonable to assume that person would stare at the victim just for a second or two?
This gets better and better.
Divorce yourself in this particular case. Just human nature.
Yes, it seems reasonable.
Now wait a minute. He falls and he lands on his right side, the father did. But stabbing someone isn't like shooting them, even when it's right in the heart. The father would have worked around for a few seconds, lying there on the floor, writhing maybe.
That's quite possible. There would have been enough oxygen in the system to carry him for 2 or 3 seconds, I should think.
Wouldn't the father have cried out?
Maybe the kid held his mouth.
That also seems possible.
Also, there's another point we might bring out. Anyone who is clear enough mentally to wipe their fingerprints from a knife, well, that person is also clear enough mentally to look around the apartment, or the room in this case, to see if there are any more clues. It'd only be for a second or two, I should think, but still, he would do it.
This just gets better and better.
We're trying to make it clear. What does it talk about quality when murder is involved? Well, let's do it.
About about this from the fingerprints. The kid wiped his fingerprints off the knife. Well, what about the doorknobs? If I saw a man coming into my home, a man that hated me, and if he was wiping off the doorknobs as he came in, it would give me an uneasy feeling. So the doorknobs, too, must have been wiped after the killing. This, too, would take some time.
You timed the last one. Why don't you time this one, too?
All right.
Stamp your foot when you want me to start.
I want the hand to be at 60.
I'm going to kill you. He would have wiped both knobs. Stop.
20, yeah. 20, 25. 29 and a half seconds, I'd say.
And whoever did murder the man, and I think it was the kid, he still had to run down the hall and down the stairs. At least one flight of stairs.
You see? You see?
So frankly, in view of this, I think it's quite reasonable to assume that the old man did see the kid run downstairs.
Now both times my sequences checked. The one you did and the one we did. What, with running down the stairs and everything, seems to pretty much check out in times.
Sure, he's an old man who wants attention. She's probably right. But the old man feels the way everyone does. A life is at stake.
So the story of the old man may well be true.
Except for the fact that he absolutely swore, under oath, that it was 15 seconds.
And we seem to all agree that it was 25 to 40 seconds later.
You're now admitting that the old man lied in one case and told the truth in the other. While I do agree this does tend to confirm the story of the old man, he's now a proven liar. And this is by your own admission.
Well, it may be true that the old man lies in part. I think it'll change my vote once more. Guilty.
And what about you? What do you think now?
I'm not just sure what I think. I want to talk some more. At first I thought guilty, and then I thought not guilty. Now I'm sort of swaying back to guilty.
And what about you?
No, I am now in real doubt. Real doubt.
I say guilty. I was right the first time.
Now we're beginning to make some sense in here.
It seems to be about 9 guilty to 3 not guilty.
One more question about the old man downstairs. How many of you live in apartment buildings?
I do not know what you are thinking, but I know what I am thinking.
What's that?
I do not live in a tenement, but it is close, and there is just enough light in the hallways that you can see the steps, no more. The light bulbs are so small, and this murder took place in a tenement. Remember how we stumbled on the steps?
The police officers were using big bulbs, and one even had a flashlight, remember?
And an old man who misjudged the time by 20 seconds. On this we all agree. The old man looked down the dark hallway of a tenement and recognized the running figure.
He was 100% wrong about the time. It took twice as long as he thought.
Then could he not be 100% wrong about who he saw?
That's the most idiotic thing I've ever heard. You're making that up out of thin air.
Let's just be honest about it.
Do you truly feel that there is no room for reasonable doubt?
Yes, I do.
I beg your pardon, but maybe you don't understand the term reasonable doubt.
What do you mean I don't understand it? Who do you think you are to talk to me like that? How do you like this chick? She comes over here running for her life, and before she can even take a big breath, she's telling us how to run the show. The arrogance of her.
No one here is asking where anyone came from.
I was born right here.
Or where your father came from.
Maybe it wouldn't hurt to take a few tips from people who come running here. Maybe they learn something we don't know. We're not so perfect.
Please, I am used to this. It is all right. Thank you.
It's not all right.
Okay. I apologize. Is that what you want?
That's what I want.
All right, let's stop the arguing. Who's got something constructive to say?
Well, something's been bothering me a little. The whole business with the stab wound and how it's made. The downward angle of it, you know?
Don't tell me we're going to start this. They went over it and over it in court.
Well, I know they did, but I don't go along with it. The boy was 5 foot 8 inches tall, and the father was 6 foot 2 inches tall. That's a difference of 6 inches. It's a very awkward thing to stab downward into the chest of a man who is half a foot taller than you are.
Look, you're not going to be satisfied until you see it again. I'm going to give you a demonstration. Somebody get up. Okay. Now watch this. I don't want to have to do it again. Is that 6 inches?
That's more than 6 inches.
Okay. Let it be more.
Look out! So funny! What's the matter with you?
All right, calm down. Nobody's hurt, are they?
No, nobody's hurt.
All right. There's your angle. Take a look at it. Down and in. That's how I'd stab a taller man in the chest, and that's how it was done. Take a look at it. Tell me I'm wrong.
Down and in. I guess there's more.
Did you ever stab a man?
Of course not.
Did you?
All right, let's not be silly.
Did you?
No, I didn't.
Where do you get all your information about how it's done?
What do you mean? It's just common sense.
Did you ever see a man stabbed?
No?
All right, let me ask you something. The kid was an experienced knife fighter. He even went to reform school for knife fighting. Isn't that so?
What are you asking me?
Look at this. Doesn't it seem like an awkward way to use a knife?
Why are you asking us this?
Wait a minute. Give me that knife. What's the matter with me?
Did you ever see a knife fight?
Yes, I have.
In the movies?
In my backyard, on my stoop, in the vacant lot across the street. Switch knives came with the neighborhood where I lived. Funny I didn't think of this before. I guess you try to forget those kinds of things. Anyone who's ever used a switch knife would never have stabbed downward. You don't use a switch knife like that. You use it underhanded.
Then he couldn't have made the kind of wound that killed his father.
I suppose it's conceivable that he could have made the wound, but unlikely if he had any experience with switch knives. And we know that the boy had a lot of experience with switch knives.
I don't believe it.
Neither do I. You're giving us a lot of mumbo-jumbo.
What do you think?
Well, I don't know.
What about you?
Listen, I'll tell you all something. I'm almost sick of this whole thing already. We're getting nowhere fast. Let's break it up and go home.
Before we decide on anything more, I'd like to try to pull this all together.
This should be good.
She has a right, let her go ahead.
You want me to time this too?
Let's hear her.
I want you all to look at this logically and consistently.
We have. Guilty.
I want to know, is the kid smart or is the kid dumb?
What do you mean?
The night of the murder, the kid bought a knife, a switch knife. Now he is an experienced knife fighter, so it would then take a very stupid man to go and murder a man, his father, with the kind of instrument everyone would associate with him.
I quite agree. He's dumb.
However, if he were dumb, then why would he make the kind of wound that an inexperienced man would make with a knife?
I'm not sure I understand.
To murder someone must take a great hatred, great emotion, and in that moment, he would handle the knife as best as he could, and a trained knife finder would handle it as he had been trained, underhand, while an inexperienced man would go overhand. But the kid is being smart. Everyone knows that he is an experienced knife fighter, so he makes the kind of wound that an amateur would make. That man is a smart man, smart enough to wipe the fingerprints off the knife, perhaps even smart enough to wait until an L train is going by to cover up the noise. Now, is the kid smart, or is he dumb?
Now wait a minute.
If the old woman across the L track saw the murder, then perhaps someone in the L train saw the murder too.
A possibility, but no one did that we know of.
It would take an awfully dumb man to do the murder as the train went by.
Exactly! A dumb man, a very stupid man, a man swept by emotion. Probably he heard nothing. He probably didn't even hear the train going by. And whoever did murder the father would do it as best as he could.
So?
The kid is dumb enough to do everything to associate himself with the switch knife, a switch knife murder. And then a moment after the murder, he becomes smart enough to make the kind of wound that would lead us to suspect someone else. And yet in that same instant, he is dumb enough to wait until an L train is going by to cover the noise. And a moment after that, he is smart enough to wipe the fingerprints away. To make this boy guilty, you would have to say that he is dumb from 8 o'clock to about midnight. And then at midnight, he is smart for a second, and then dumb for a few seconds, and then smart again. And then he becomes stupid, so stupid that he can't even think of a good alibi. Now, is the kid smart, or is he dumb? To make this boy guilty, you would have to toss his intelligence like a pancake. There is doubt, doubt, doubt.
I hadn't thought of that.
And the old man downstairs, on the stand, he swore that it was 15 seconds. He insisted on 15 seconds. But we all agree it must have been almost 40 seconds.
Does the old man lie half of the time and then tell the truth the other half of the time?
For the kid to be guilty, he must be stupid and then smart, and then stupid and then smart, and so on. And for the kid to be guilty, the old man must lie half of the time and tell the truth the other half of the time. You can reasonably doubt.
I'm sold on reasonable doubt.
I think I am too.
I wanted more talk, and now I've had it.
I want another vote.
Another vote's been called for. I guess the quickest way is show of hands. Anyone object? All right. All those voting not guilty, raise your hands. 9. All those voting guilty, 3. The vote is 9-3 in favor of acquittal.
I don't understand you people. How can you believe this kid is innocent? Look, you know how those people lie. I don't have to tell you. They don't know what the truth is. And let me tell you, they don't need any real big reason to kill someone either. They get drunk and bang, someone's lying in the gutter. Nobody's blaming them. That's just how they are. You know what I mean? Violent. Human life don't mean as much to them as it does to us. Hey, where are you all going? Look, these people are drinking and fighting, and if somebody gets killed, so somebody gets killed. They don't care. Oh, sure, there are some good things about them, too. Look, I'm the first to say that. I've known a few who are pretty decent, but that's the exception. Most of them, it's like they have no feelings. They can do anything. What's going on here? I'm speaking my piece, and you listen to me. There's no good. There's not a one of them who's any good. Take it from me, this kid on trial. Well, don't you know about them? I'm trying to tell you something. Listen to me.
I've had enough. If you open your mouth again, I'm going to split your skull.
I was only trying to tell you.
All right, everybody, sit down. I believe the boy is guilty of murder, and I'll tell you why. To me, the most damning evidence was given to the woman across the street, who claims she actually saw the murder committed.
As far as I'm concerned, that's the most important testimony.
All right, let's go over her testimony. What exactly did she say?
I believe I can recount it accurately. She claimed that around 11 o'clock that night, she went to bed. While lying down, her bed can face the open window, and she can look out and see directly into the window across the street. She tossed and turned for over an hour, unable to fall asleep. And then finally, at around 12:10, she woke up and looked out the window and saw the boy stab his father. As far as I can see, this is unshakable testimony.
That's what I mean. That's the whole case.
As far as I can see, I don't know how you can vote for acquittal. What do you think about it?
Well, maybe, with so much evidence to shift.
What do you mean, maybe? She's absolutely right. You can throw out all the other evidence.
That's how I felt about it. While I do not deny the validity of the points that she has made, shall we say on one side of the tracks there is doubt? What can we say about the story of the woman? She saw it?
What time is it?
10 minutes of 6.
You don't suppose they'd let us go and finish this in the morning? I've got a kid with mumps.
Not a chance.
Can't you see the clock without your glasses?
Not clearly.
Glasses are a nuisance, are they?
Well, what do you do when you wake up in the middle of the night and want to know what time it is?
I put on my glasses and I look at the clock.
Do you wear your glasses to bed?
No, of course not. Nobody wears eyeglasses to bed.
The woman who testified that she saw the killing wears glasses. What about her?
Did she wear glasses?
Of course. She wore bifocals. I remember this very clearly. They looked quite strong.
Yes, bifocal. She never took them off.
Funny. I never thought of that.
I think it's logical to say that she didn't wear her glasses to bed, and she wouldn't have put them on to glance casually out the window. She testified that the murder took place the instant she went out, and the lights went out the split second later. She couldn't have had time to put on her glasses then. Now perhaps she honestly thought that she saw the boy kill his father. I say she only saw a blur.
How do you know what she saw? Maybe she's farsighted. How does she know all these things?
Does anyone still think there is not a reasonable doubt?
I will always wonder. But there is a reasonable doubt.
I think he's guilty.
Does anyone else?
No. I'm convinced now. There is a reasonable doubt.
You're alone.
11 not guilty. 1 guilty.
I don't care whether I'm alone or not. I have a right.
Yes, you have a right.
Well, I told you, I think he's guilty. What else do you want?
Your arguments.
I gave you my arguments.
We're not convinced. We want to hear them again. We have time.
Listen, you made all the arguments. You can't turn now. A guilty man's going to be walking the streets. A murderer. He's got to die. Stay with me.
I'm sorry, but I'm convinced. I don't think that I'm wrong often, but I guess I was this once. There is a reasonable doubt in my mind.
We're waiting.
I'm entitled to my opinion. It's gonna be a hung jury. That's it.
There's nothing we can do about that, except hope that some night, maybe in a few months, why, you might get some sleep.
You're all alone.
It takes a great deal of courage to stand alone.
If it is a hung jury, there will be another trial, and someone will point out these things to the various lawyers.
We're waiting.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.